Well, we have many visitors coming into the southwestern part of the United States, and especially during the late spring and summer months, we handle on an average of up to 5,000 passengers in the daily period of travel up to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This is Los Angeles International Airport. I'm passenger service manager supervisor. Our passengers begin with us when they actually leave their car and step onto the curb. As passenger service manager, this relates to all functions which are passenger-oriented, which could be anywhere from an unaccompanied child to an oversized bag, to someone who's missed a flight, to someone who hasn't found the arriving passenger. Just a multitude of areas that have to do with humans in and out of the airport area. I am native Californian, born in the same city that I have lived in and work in. One of the contributing factors of my staying in the Southwest area and in this particular area is the year-round climate that we have here, and there's so many things that you can do. Just think, within driving distance on a day off, I can be skiing in the snow, I can be water skiing out in the ocean, I can be on the desert, and I like it here. I think I'll stay.
Millions of people have come to the Southwest to stay. These new arrivals have made the area one of America's fastest-growing regions. Years ago, this small Mexican plaza was about all there was to the little town of Los Angeles. Now, Los Angeles is one of the country's largest cities. The plaza is still here. Some of the old feeling has been preserved, and Spanish-speaking people are one of our largest minority groups. But in our rush to create the future, we've sometimes lost contact with our past, and that causes problems.
Los Angeles, the city of the angels. Outside of Mexico City, this is supposed to be the second largest population of Chicanos, or Mexican Americans. We face problems just like any other communities, like unity problems. It's got to be a strong, unity among ourselves. Back in 1973, an art organization approached the Housing Authority. They wanted to work with the community about murals. And I joined up with this organization to be a community liaison person. We like to, see our art, and this is the way we've done it, through murals. They're here to show some expression of our community, self-awareness, our pride. What could be done. It could be done here, it could be done elsewhere.
Spanish traditions in the Southwest can be traced back 200 years before the Declaration of Independence. But when the first Spanish explorers came, they met a people who had lived in our region for thousands of years before.
Probably the area we're standing in was, at some point, and not that long ago, was inhabited by Indian tribes here. I think the Indian people that lived here had a really tremendous respect for the earth. They knew there had to be a very fine balance between the land and the people. The desert out here in the Southwest it's a nice place to be at. Myself being an artist, and you can add a feeling to your work maybe that if you're working in a studio in a city that you'd sort of lose. Really amazing how extensively this area was inhabited, and at the earliest stages of that, you could see this very important use of crafts, which I consider art at this point. Particularly jewelry, baskets, weaving is a very important part of the Southwest. Jewelry has always been made with silver and turquoise, very fine turquoise. Coral was an important part of older jewelry. Other times, just other little stones and pebbles that were picked up. Sometimes all kinds of little shells that were traded from Mexico were used. I'm sort of using all those materials still and using the same basic techniques that were done in 1900, except that I think my ideas are coming around in seeing a new sense of design. There is a lot of things that the Indian culture could add to, say, our everyday society. A respect for and using the earth, and a respect for everything living that's on the earth.
I'm a freelance photographer trying to take pictures of the Southwest. To photograph the desert, there is something to it that is hard to explain, but in my case, I just simply enjoy it because the desert offers you so much. Take the different kinds of cacti. Some of them, yes, they don't bloom the year round. They only sometimes have a bloom that may last 24 hours. But it is to find in a hot, barren country something delicate as a beautiful blossom. And it is this type of thing that I have fallen in love with. The first time I saw the Grand Canyon, I was just amazed. Almost a mile deep from the center straight down. I just can't believe today yet. And I have been there perhaps 100 or more times. And each time I stand on the rim and looking down, I just look at it as if I see it for the first time. I'm still amazed.
In this particular area of Texas, it's cattle country, and we raise cow, run a cow and calf herd here. What we're doing here this morning is calling these cattle up to feed. We have to supplemental feed them through the winter. They can't get along and maintain themselves and raise a calf without some supplemental feed protein. That's what we're selling to pounds. We're trying to get as much weight on them as we can, grow as big a calf as we can. And they're pretty well broke to feed. They'll come up when you call them, and the boys are out here gathering them now.
My great-great-grandfather moved to this country in 1850, and we've been in Texas since and been in the cattle business. You got to be anything from a plumber to a lawyer to do a little of it all in this business. From windmilling to fence fixing to veterinarian work. You have to be a pretty good chemist. It's become quite a technical field anymore. It's just not getting up daylight and staying after dark horseback all day.
You can make a lot more money digging ditches, really, you know. But right here, when you make a mistake, it's your mistake, and you don't have a bunch of stuff, you know, you can't pass it on down. Like you get out here and old calf's sick or something, needs doctoring, or you got to doctor him right there. You can't go run off and tell somebody and do this, that, and other. You got to do it right then.
Population and demand for food and so forth, and the concentration population has a whole lot to do with what land use you can have. I know back in the Northeast where the population is great and they've covered most of their acreage up with concrete, that they're not able to produce food and fiber, but in the Southwest where we are able to produce it and our land is still in production, and it's used for agriculture, and I guess it always will be till we finally populate the world to where there's standing room only, and I guess they'll move to West Texas soon.
We've always had a lot of open land in the Southwest, but in the past, there was one thing that stood in the way of rapid growth: lack of water. Today, our deserts are crisscrossed with thousands of miles of pipelines and aqueducts, all carrying the water we need to survive, and most important, to grow.
Without the water supplies that we've imported to this area, we could not support the population in terms of the quality of life that people in the United States like to live. I'm the chief engineer for the Colorado River Board of California, and it's our job to protect California's interest in the Colorado River and see that this area does get the water it needs for its purposes. The plant that we're looking at now receives water from the Colorado River about 240 miles to the east, and from the Sacramento and Feather Rivers about 400 miles to the north. There's been a tremendous change in the physical appearance of the area. A number of years ago, over 100, all you would see would have been sagebrush and chaparral. From there, you've gone to the change of the highly developed citrus groves and intensive agriculture, and now you can see the homes that predominate the area. Some of the big differences, of course, were caused by the tremendous increase in population, and of course this has resulted in more freeways, and the smog, of course, is a negative impact. The tremendous development of the aerospace industry, all of that has caused tremendous changes.
The Southwest is a major area of aerospace workers. There are a large number of aerospace companies that are working directly on space programs. There are a large number of people in private businesses who support the industry. We're building here in Southern California the Space Shuttle. The Space Shuttle is kind of an offshoot from the Apollo program that everybody's familiar with. The shuttle, unlike the Apollo, is a vehicle that is supposed to take off and land like an airplane. I work in the propulsion design area. I supervise a number of senior engineers and scientists, and our business is to put together the vehicle that steers the space shuttle. In general, the testing is what causes us to be in Southern California as averse to being in, let's say, the Midwest, where you can get snow and rain. When they brought the aerospace industry in, we put in plants, and people commuted into the area and started putting in track houses. Pretty soon, instead of it being farmed, it was just one great big little suburbia of end-to-end houses. And what that really did was to move the farms out further, and I guess the people in Florida really liked it because it cut out an awful lot of orange groves.
Well, the Southwest is developing quite rapidly. The land's being used up more and more.
There must be something here that attracts people. And I will say that it's really the climate.
That's what led us to California. We came out here on a trip and found out it was such beautiful weather. We couldn't figure why we should stay in the Midwest where it was snowing and icy and you couldn't drive and all that. So we packed bag and bundle, and off we came to California. You're now in Leisure World, and this establishment has a population of about 18,000 people. The age bracket here is from 52, that's the minimum age, to anything. We got a number of people that are over 100 and are active, quite active, and use all of our facilities.
This is one of the most wonderful retirement areas in the United States. We never have a very long, cold winter when we're locked in. People can get out all the time. To me, it's just absolutely ideal.
The Southwest, you're only 1 or 2 hours drive from anything you want to do. It's just a great place. These are all animals that are common to our shallow water and rocky beach areas of the Southern California coastline. These tanks were designed to simulate their natural environment, which is from within 1 to 20 feet of water off the coast. Working at SeaWorld, I swim in the underwater show with dolphins and sea lions. Marine sciences is still a very new field, and we're in the behavioral end of it, and I feel we get a first-hand view of dolphin or cetacean behavior. They're very intelligent. It's uncanny. You can't explain how it is to work with them, but I just wish we could have better communication with them. You can really tell what a thriving industry the industry of tourism is. We've seen hundreds of thousands of people come through here in a single summer season. The tourists have a nice casual atmosphere, somewhat tropical atmosphere. They just can come here and relax.
changes are all going towards tourism, which I think is a good idea, geared to making more parks and more beautiful areas and casual areas. I think the country could use more places where you can just kind of kick back and take a look at all the beautiful things we have. And what I can see for the future is just more and more of this coming.
It's probably true that people will continue to come to the Southwest to enjoy our warm climate and unique countryside and culture. The question is, how will this growth affect our way of life?
A lot of people want to move to Arizona, to Phoenix, to get away from maybe a city situation they're in, but those people moving here are going to cause probably the same thing they're leaving.
Southwestern part of the United States, and especially during the late spring and summer months, we handle on an average of up to 5,000 passengers in the daily period of travel up to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This is Los Angeles International Airport. I'm Passenger Service Manager Supervisor. Passengers begin with us when they actually leave their car and step onto the curb. As passenger service manager, this relates to all functions which are passenger-oriented, which could be anywhere from an unaccompanied child to an oversized we have many visitors coming into the